Well, good morning, everyone. Everybody's belly's full. I'll try to speak loud enough that you don't take a nap while I'm doing this. Well, welcome to Founders Day 2026. My name is Tony Burke, and I am the Director of Public Relations here for LMM. It is my honor to serve as today's host. I would first like to bring you greetings on behalf of Maria Fosha, President and CEO, who is unable to make today's event due to an unforeseen circumstance. Maria extends her gratitude to the board, staff partners, and community members who joined us here today for this special celebration. This annual event honors the life and legacy of our founder, Reverend Richard Searing. For 57 years, LMM has met the call of what is required of us as people of faith to seek justice, love mercy, and to serve with humility. Our founder, Reverend Richard Searing, profoundly believed in this call. Reverend Searing understood his role. He knew he was called to gather the shepherds of Greater Cleveland to inspire change. Each day, the LMM staff dedicate their time and talents to serve those underserved in our community. Every year, our staff and volunteers serve more than 4,500 individuals while staying true to LMM's vision that everyone can thrive in a community of dignity and respect. Today's theme, Building on the Foundation, Framing Our Future, will highlight the agency's rich history and look into what's next for the future of LMM and our community. We have a very special panel discussion that highlights community members who have been amazing partners in advancing LMM's mission, who we will introduce to you shortly. But first, we would like to take a moment of silence now for three special members of the LMM community who we lost over the last year. Pastor Mulba Borsay, who served as LMM board member, and Founders Circles members and LMM contributors Carol Marcus and Reverend Richard Sloop. Thank you. And now I would like to welcome to the podium Pastor Charlie Woodward of Prince of Peace Westlake Lutheran Church and LMM board member to provide today's opening prayer.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we bless you and we praise your holy name. We gather today with hearts full of gratitude as we celebrate the legacy of Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry. We thank you for the visionaries who decades ago looked upon the needs of our community not with indifference, but with eyes of your compassion. Remember especially Richard Searing for his vision and leadership. Almighty God, your Son Jesus shared the story of the wise man who built his house upon a rock. We give thanks for that our founders chose to build this ministry not on the shifting sands of convenience or fleeting trends, but on the solid rock of your grace and the firm foundation of justice, dignity, and radical love. As we reflect on today's theme, building on the foundation, framing our future, we ask for your continued guidance for the foundation. Help us to honor the history and the values passed down to us. May we never lose sight of the rock upon which we stand. For the framing, give us the courage to be master builders of hope. Grant us the creativity to design new ways to serve, the strength to lift up those who are weary, and the wisdom to advocate for those whose voices have been silenced. And for the future, may the LMM house we continue to build be a place of shelter, transformation, and belonging for all our neighbors. Bless those who we honor today. Bless the staff, the volunteers, the board members, the donors, and every person whose life is interwoven with LMM. May our work together be a worthy addition to the structure started so long ago until your kingdom is fully realized among us. In the name of the one who is our cornerstone, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Charlie. There were many people who came alongside Reverend Searing throughout the founding of LMM, and in 2020, our leadership team developed a concept known as the Founders Circle. This distinguished group of individuals, organizations, and faith partners were instrumental in the formation of LMM, and today they boldly carry LMM's vision and the organization's mission to challenge injustices faced by those who are oppressed, forgotten, and hurting by providing responsive solutions, voice, and hope. These trusted partners have made significant sacrifices of their time, talents, and treasure to support the mission, vision, civic engagement initiatives, and programs of LMM. Here with us today to announce the newest members of our Founders Circle is LMM Board Vice Chair Diane Stack, and I'd like to call up Diane now to the podium.
Thanks. Thanks, Tony. I'd like to add, as we induct our new members, they are people like our founder, Reverend Richard Searing, who are committed to social justice, racial reconciliation, living out their faith with action, and serving those in the community who are most vulnerable. Hi, John. Our Founder Circle members support innovative solutions to the community concerns. They believe in civic engagement and public witness, and they're always willing to speak up for those who have lost their voice. Our first 2026 induction into the LMM Founder Circle is Reverend Richard Israel. In June of 1977, 49 years ago, Reverend Israel joined the LMM staff on the Interchurch Council to work on the issue of school desegregation in Cleveland. During this time, he was also a staff member of the Public Education Ministry of the Interchurch Council of Greater Cleveland and a project associate with the Greater Cleveland Project. Reverend Israel's primary task was to create a citywide organization of Cleveland high school students to promote peaceful desegregation among their peers. Over the course of a decade, Reverend Israel worked on public education, serving with Reverend Richard Searing on the LMM Desegregation Task Force, and helped start a school drop-in center at West Tech High School. He also helped develop a citywide parents group, the Cleveland School Budget Coalition, which worked to increase the percentage of funding to direct education as opposed to administrative costs at CMSD. In 1987, at the invitation of Reverend Searing, Reverend Israel accepted the position as director of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, one of the premier ombudsman programs in the U.S., started at LMM by Mike Russ and Roland Hornsbostel. LCTO, affectionately called within these walls as LITCO, was charged with the responsibility of being advocates for anyone receiving long-term care in nursing homes, group homes, assisted living, and eventually home care for Cuyahoga, Lorain, Lake, Medina, and Jaga counties. LITCO tailored a list of facilities that best met the needs of families that needed long-term care, and also researched group homes in the 5-county area, developing training to help them run better, eventually leading to legislative action in Ohio to license adult group homes, creating another service for the continuum of senior care. After almost 2 decades with LMM, Reverend Israel left the organization to become interim pastor at Grace Lutheran Church in Cleveland Heights, where he was ordained in 1978. Several years later, he joined the staff of St. Paul's Episcopal Church, also in Cleveland Heights. While at St. Paul's, at the invitation of LMM's volunteer coordinator, Reverend Lydia Bailey, Reverend Israel worked with a group of trained Stephen ministers from St. Paul's Church and men who lived and worked at the men's shelter at 2100 Lakeside. They made themselves available to men at the shelter who needed a caring presence, interested in hearing their life stories. I'd like to ask Susan Searing, beloved wife of Reverend Richard Searing, up to the front, and she has the honor of pinning Reverend Israel with a special Founders Circle pin. Reverend Israel, please join us.
We're missing the other half of the magnet, I think.
I think you're right.
We still love you. Find that magnet, put it on there.
We'll try this one.
Oh, thank you. Oh, bless you. Okay. All right. Yeah, that'll work. Such a simple thing to have a snafu. That's ridiculous. Okay. It's on. All right.
Our next newly inducted member is Mr. John Riggenbach. John was nominated by Mr. Charles R.C., retired Executive Director of Community Entry, a program at LMM. In 2013, after many years of avid support of LMM and our mission, John Riggenbach was elected to the LMM Board of Directors, where he served for 12 years. During this time, he was active on various subcommittees of the board, most notably the Finance, Audit, and Program Committees, all of which he served as chairperson. Additionally, John contributed as a member of the LMM Housing Task Force, which developed the strategies and policies which led to the organization's launch of the Breaking New Ground capital campaign for affordable housing. Shortly after his election to the board, John also served for several years as Community Reentry's Board of Directors and chaired the Community Reentry Finance Committee and both the LMM Program and Finance Committees. John worked tirelessly with the Community Reentry Staff Board and advocates to oppose injustice anywhere in the community. An example is taking part in challenging the policies of the Ohio Department of Corrections when correction officers refused to administer first aid to those who were incarcerated in distress. He believes in human dignity and the power of second chances. John had a very successful professional career as Chief Operations Officer for Third Federal Savings and Loan, President of Commerce Exchange Bank, and a few years ago, the Executive Vice President of Retail Banking at Ameritrust. Alongside these significant leadership roles in the community, he generously shared his time and expertise with us. John always made himself available to our staff leadership who sought guidance. As an organizational ambassador, he introduced the agency to several individuals in the community who helped us with banking and eventually became involved in supporters in LMM's various ministries. John and his wife Pat have been generous supporters of LMM's ongoing efforts and special initiatives like the Breaking New Ground and Workforce Training Center capital campaigns, and they've actively participated in our special events. By his actions and enduring commitment to serving LMM and our community, it is with great gratitude we present John Riggenbach to be inducted into the LMM Founder Circle. And I'd like Mr. Charles C. to place the Founders Day pin on John.
It is my pleasure and distinct privilege to pin John Riggenbach.
Thank you very much. There we go. I heard it click. All right. Thank you, Charles. Thank you.
On behalf of the LMM Board of Directors and staff partners, congratulations to both Reverend Israel and John. We are truly grateful for and are inspired by your stellar service to LMM and the community. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Diane, for presenting the new Founder Circle members, and once again, congratulations. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce LMM's Chief Program Officer, Michael Searing. Michael has been with the organization his father began for more than 3 decades. When anyone needs to know anything about LMM, Michael is always our go-to guy, as you can hear. He will now take a few moments to spotlight LMM's amazing history and some of the current initiatives our organization is undertaking as we continue innovations to improve our community into the future. Michael?
Oh, look at that. All right. Well, thank you, Tony, and the shout out from the back of the room. Some peeps over there, I know. Congratulations to Rich and John. Indeed, many contributions to the growth of LMM over the years. So I'm so glad to participate today. I was at a great Lutheran Services in America conference, and I just flew in yesterday. Boy, are my arms tired. Okay, sorry, okay. But when I was boarding the plane, the flight attendant told me to get on the plane. I was like, oh no, I'm getting in the plane. Okay, I promise to stop with that one. But I have to share, that is an old George Carlin joke from decades ago. I remember growing up watching his comedy specials with my dad, Dick Searing, with my mother, Susan, who successfully just pinned Rich, and my older sister. And we got to grow up as a family and with LMM, which was just an amazing experience. Founders Day and our theme of building on the foundation, framing our future, is a time to look back and share some great memories, and a time to look forward and think about our future together. In looking back, as a kid, I was fortunate to grow up with LMM. I was only 6 months old when the family left in 1969 to move from St. Louis to Cleveland, so I don't remember that part. But later, I learned how the Lutheran church bodies came together after the Huff Uprising to work on strategy to be engaged in civil rights, fight racism, and become immersed in community. That strategy turned into the call for young Reverend Searing, and together with the other early champions, they launched LMM and quickly got to work. Flash forward 4 years, I do remember visiting nursing homes when I was 5 and passing out food at the Church Hunger Center as part of early LMM efforts. I also remember the LMM staff, family, and founder circle members who were as passionate about the mission as my parents were. They too wanted to serve with our community, solve problems, and find opportunities for people often left out. Going back, say, 35 years from today, we had well-established reentry services, guardianship services, a youth shelter, and a small social enterprises that did housing, painting, and catering. Sound familiar? As we think about framing our future, we are building on that foundation with 4 branches of services in guardianship, youth resiliency, workforce development, housing and shelter, and through our Office of Civic Engagement. 2 of our newer initiatives are our workforce development's building maintenance and repair for skill building and paid on-the-job training, and we continue to grow our affordable housing footprint with our first new build of 4 units, soon to be open just down the street. All of LMM's programs are stable during challenging and changing environments, with some continuing to grow as opportunities arise. The programs follow the blueprint of our strategic plan, are supported by our board of directors, and all of us are steadfast in our commitment to the original mission. In a few moments, we're going to hear more about some of these initiatives from partners who have strengthened our foundation and are framing the future with us. I now have the great honor to introduce our board chair, Grayson Sieg. I'm going to read this kind of fast because Grayson's up to a lot of great stuff. Grayson joined LMM in 2018 as a member of the Breaking New Ground Committee and was elected to the board of directors in 2019. From 2023 to 2025, he served as vice chair of the board of directors of LMM, and in 2026 was appointed chairperson of the board of directors. Grayson additionally leads LMM's audit committee, serves on the finance and executive committees, and is a member of the steering committee responsible for development, implementation, and monitoring of LMM's strategic plan. Grayson and his wife, Jasmine, have been involved in multiple LMM development activities, including our 55th anniversary celebration. As if that wasn't enough to keep him busy, Grayson is a partner at the firm of Tucker Ellis, where he practices corporate finance. His passions include fair and equitable housing for all. Grayson, please come up and lead us with the panel.
Stole all my jokes. Word for word. All right. We have a great panel tonight. I know we have to get done by, what, 3:30? I think it was 3:34, so I did set my alarm. We'll be mindful of your time. So I'll introduce the panel in no particular order. We do have a good one. First up is Marty Yule. Marty is the president and CEO of the Community West Foundation. He took over in 2020 under your leadership, Marty. Community West awarded more than 100 grants totaling $3.1 million. I can't wait to hear more about that. Prior to your time, Community West, you served as the superintendent and CEO of the Cleveland Lutheran High School Association. I hope I got that right. You've spent most of your career leading nonprofit institutions and finding professional opportunities through fundraising. Marty holds a Master of Business Administration from Baldwin Wallace University. I know we have Tom in the house someplace. As well as a Bachelor of Arts from Wittenberg. So, Marty, come on up. All right, next up, from the Cuyahoga Land Bank, we have Ricardo Leon. Prior to joining the Land Bank, Ricardo served as the executive director of Metro West Community Development Organization. I hope I got that one right. You've been instrumental in combating homelessness in Cuyahoga County, as well as developing affordable housing. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that. An undergraduate degree, once again, from Baldwin Wallace University, and a master's degree from my alma mater, Cleveland State University. Come on up here. Our next panelist is Olivia Willis. Olivia is the Senior Director for Clean and Safe at Downtown Cleveland, Inc., focusing on a clean, safe, and welcoming downtown environment to drive economic growth and vibrancy in our urban core. A graduate of Cleveland State University, Olivia reads outreach and advocacy to address homelessness, supporting social networks, as well as affordable housing. Welcome, Olivia. And finally, we are very, very honored to have Councilwoman Yvonne Conwell with us. The Councilwoman represents Ward 7, and she has just been a terrific and long-term sponsor and supporter of LMM. She's a lifelong resident of Cuyahoga County. Under her leadership, our city has experienced unprecedented economic growth, finally reversing some of the almost 40, 50-year trends that we've seen, especially in the downtown core. She's spearheaded plenty of initiatives for creating opportunity as well as growth in the community. She spent most of her career especially focused on families and children. So, Councilwoman, thank you. All right, let's start with the tough ones. Marty.
Was I supposed to sit in a chair?
You went for it.
Sorry, Councilwoman.
I noticed you're the only non-CSU grad.
Okay,
it's
all
a
right.
tough school to get into.
I get the chair then.
All right, we're going to be short on time, so we're going to speed ahead. I'm going to go off a little script. I want to talk about housing and shelter. It's what I care about most, and I think it's going to be a hot button issue, and we'll get into some of the regulatory nature, kind of the government we're in right now a little bit later. But Councilwoman, I want to start with you. We've talked about your kind of passion toward homelessness and all that you've done with us to support our work in the community. So I'll just ask you a softball. What have you seen from LMM that most excites you?
That you work with people where they are. That is important. Knowing where people are. Oops. Working with people where they are. That is very important. We all compartmentalize what's going on in our lives. We all have different things that are happening. And so when you talk about the most vulnerable residents, they're going through a host of things. Lack of housing, getting a job. So you don't know where they are. So that is very important. I've always found LMM to be there, a stable partner in meeting that person where they are and making them whole, a holistic approach.
And to kind of, when you put your money where your mouth is, you've sat with our development committee, you've sat
Yes.
in LMM committees, and worked with us. So we really appreciate that. It's great to have our Cleveland leaders in the room, seeing what we're doing, our thought process, and kind of what we do, kind of on a where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. All right, Ricardo, we're talking housing and shelter, so you know you're up. The land bank has done so much for us as far as kind of kickstarting our initiatives. I was lucky enough, as well as many people in this room, to work on the Breaking New Ground campaign. I think our first project was a while ago. We just started with greenscaping, right? And it's moved into so much more. I have some stats here that I think we've all heard before. Since 2016, it started with a abandoned duplex that we renovated, and now just from the land bank alone, 12 units are online, with a whole more coming. And that's in addition to all the kind of other initiatives that Michael has spearheaded in purchasing units and in finding value opportunities. But again, over half were because of our direct partnership with the land bank. So again, we'll start you off a little easy. It'll get hard. Let's just talk about what excites you most about kind of our partnership and where you see it going forward.
No, I think the most exciting thing for me is seeing the growth in the partnership and how far we've come. You know, a dozen units, to some folks may not sound a lot, but that's blood, sweat, and tears, time, energy, resources. To your point, chasing the resources to be able to do the projects. And right before we walked in the room here, I was talking to Michael around seeing the most recent development, the kind of the super advanced building techniques, the uniqueness of the product. These are the tiny homes, kind of not too far from here, just a couple blocks away from here. Is amazing to see that an organization like LMM is pushing the boundaries and kind of not just what nonprofits are doing in development, but what the ecosystem as a whole in Cleveland and our region is doing in housing development and trying new things. It's exciting to see, and it's cool to see that, you know, again, a 10+ year partnership continues to kind of deliver on these amazing wins, and it makes us hopeful that we'll see more folks kind of follow the lead of LMM and bring these new kind of innovative ideas to the table. So I'm just really excited for kind of what comes next.
Let's talk about and it's okay if you don't have any kind of stories you're comfortable or want to share, but kind of from a family level, right? From how we and how you impact the individuals. Can you talk about a little bit about that? Like what housing does to kind of stabilize families and communities?
No, absolutely. So I think we see this a lot through the work that the Land Bank does, particularly the work that we do through our charitable kind of side of the organization, where we're working with nonprofits in community, helping them get homes and then giving them grant resources to bring those homes across the finish line. We hear this a lot where folks are saying, this is the first house I've ever had the opportunity to own. I never thought I would be a homeowner. Maybe we have another good example with Councilman Conwell provided us funding a few years back to do some work with veterans. You know, gentlemen who are saying, hey, I thought life had, the community had given up on me, and now I have a home, and now I'm on my first track towards getting a stable job again and getting my mental health in order. So the reality is that really that home, whether it's home ownership or just having a roof over your head that you can call yours and you can feel safe in, is really the building block, in my opinion, and I would say the Land Bank's kind of organizational approach of how you can help not just people, but our economy, our communities, our cities. That's how we grow, is by being able to, folks being able to have homes.
That's great. All right, let's transition to some workforce development. If you didn't know, and everybody in this room knows because you're LMM advocates, we have a big capital campaign for a workforce development initiative. Olivia, I'm going to start with you, and this one's a tough one. Downtown Cleveland Alliance, Downtown Cleveland Inc. Explain.
I didn't expect this to come up. So yes, a little bit of a switch in 2023 with our organizational structure. Downtown Cleveland Inc. is our advocacy organization, kind of overall. So some of the work that we do in social service advocacy, in unsheltered homelessness advocacy, really comes out of Downtown Cleveland Inc.
Great. We partnered with what was DCA at the time, and I might be getting the years wrong. I think it was 2016. It was called Seeds program, where we leveraged with DCA to find jobs for folks experiencing homelessness at 2100, and it was a radically successful program. I think of the 14 participants, and I might be getting these numbers wrong, I think 10 ended up with full-time jobs and exited homelessness because of that program. So if you want to talk about that, that's fine, but can you talk about programmatic things that you're doing to kind of promote opportunity like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Like you mentioned, our SEEDS program is a workforce development program that we partnered with LMM on, which is focused around public realm enhancement, specifically landscaping throughout downtown. And so kind of as a partner organization, I think, and I wasn't at the organization at the time when this was created, but we really saw a need as kind of an external organization. Although we have outreach components, we're not a social service agency, and yet we had this need of, we have a lot of parks and public spaces in downtown. How do we support our community while also doing what we know we need to do, which is enhance these spaces? And so that gap really came together with our partnership, and we were able to create the SEEDS program. And like you said, have been very successful in transitioning people to both our ambassador team and other full-time employment. So I really think, like I mentioned, as an organization, we have a lot of those public realm needs that we've kind of had a gap in filling in previously. So our partnership has really been about those programmatic ways of filling that gaps, and that is through the great workforce development work that you guys are doing.
That's great, thank you. I will take that compliment for the behalf of the organization. Diane's going to laugh at this. One of the big debates, are we a social justice organization or are we a social services organization? And we all say we're both. We are both. On that, we're always looking for opportunity, especially when we have equities and roles that we fill to kind of create opportunities. So, like you said, you are not a social services organization. That's not your mission. However, we are. What opportunities do you see kind of going forward where you can leverage us? We can fill a role even if we have to adapt. Is there anything kind of on the horizon, or maybe just trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, so we really think, as far as partnership goes and moving forward, LMM, you guys are the subject matter experts. We're not the subject matter experts at Downtown Cleveland. So our partnership is critical in really you being a resource to us when we have needs, when we are working on advocacy work. We do a lot of advocacy for enhanced funding for unsheltered homelessness services at the city and the county level. So really bringing the partnership in with the subject matter experts is really critical. And a lot of those are tied into our greater downtown vision, where we want to advocate for a safe and welcoming downtown for everyone in the community, which includes our unsheltered population. So I think continuing our partnership and this really great advocacy relationship that we have is going to be critical in advancing, I think, this shared mission.
That's wonderful, thank you. Marty, he of the chair, the good chair, the color-coordinated tie chair. Community West Foundation has been such a great resource for LMM. Our partnership has lasted for years and years, and you've been so instrumental in so many things that this organization does. From portraits of homelessness, I'm going to forget about a bunch of them, the Flex Fund program, and many others. We couldn't do a lot of the programs if it weren't for your organization, kind of your leadership. So I'll ask you kind of the open-ended question. What excites you about what we're doing right now, or what would you like to see us move into? Where do you see some opportunities?
Thanks. Community West, it's a pleasure to be here representing the board, the staff. I've been involved with Community West since 2009 and as CEO since 2020. We started funding LMM in 2010, and just last year eclipsed $1.35 million in support for LMM's programs. It's, Our largest grant we make every year is to LMM for all of those various things. And we learn so much from the work you do. As a funder, I'm never going to answer the question, what would I like you to do? We're not allowed to talk about that as funders, but in private maybe with Michael and Marie. What we've learned about so many things, workforce, people coming back into our community from prison. So much to learn there. We expanded into that work about 7 years ago. Michael, we stole an idea from you. And if I confess it here, it's okay, right? So in talking with Michael about housing, LMM raised money to put into an endowment to support the residents of some housing that you were building. And Michael told me about this at a meeting. We've now done that. We're working with housing on the west side of town with other partners, but we have built what we call the Good Neighbors Fund, and it's directly modeled after what LMM is doing to support the residents so that they can stay. You know, I see you nodding, Charles. I think LMM knew that, you know, before we did. And of course, you work in the shelters. I could go on all afternoon. And I have to say, my friend John Ringenbach over here was an executive vice president at Ameritrust Bank when I was a retail trainee, John. And you don't remember me, but I remember you.
We lost you.
We talked with Olivia a little bit about innovation and opportunities and how to think outside the box. That's tough when you're a service provider. There's always a balance between, hey, we have a day-to-day mission to do, but we also want to innovate. We want to come up with new solutions, creative ideas. Any advice on how to find a balance for an organization like LMM, which has taken such a big bite of the apple, but yet still wants to move forward on new and innovative ideas while still maintaining the integrity of our current mission?
Yeah, that's the key. I don't know what everyone else would think about. What is the very first thing you think about with LMM? For me, I go to the shelter. The shelter is the core. It's the largest men's shelter, really the main one. So always leading with the strength of what you do and then adding on those ideas. And if there are sources of funds that you can develop to try an idea, that allows funders like us to come along. You know, there's not a lot of seed money in the core funder community, but if we have invested that, it's been with LMM. The direct cash payments was a big leap for us and for our board, and the results are stunning. And Michael and the team always bring us the innovative programs. And I think also LMM has embraced a relationship with the city and with the county. If you fight against those things in advocacy work, then you don't get the support you need to grow. So innovation is land bank, downtown Cleveland, the city, the county, and bringing those people along, because that's really where the huge money is. And then the incremental money to do the program work can come from places like Community West.
That's great. All right, let's get into it. Buckle up. The current political environment has not been conducive for social service networks and social service fundings, especially from the top down, Councilwoman. Giving the ebb and flow of funding for kind of critical core municipal services and social services, kind of what do you see as the short-term outlook? And this can be open-ended. This can be the challenges, the opportunities, maybe what you see specifically with the city and the county versus nationally.
Try to hold my tongue when we talk. So all of our funding, I try to hold our tongue when we talk about the national landscape right now. They're hurting all of us. You know, all of our funding flows down. We already are working with most vulnerable residents. And so we have to be, as citizens, on our point, on our job, and collaborate together to kind of overcome what the challenges that we're facing. Every day there's something new. It's pretty mind-boggling sometimes, but the county is a stickler for staying on our mission. Homelessness and housing is one of our top priorities. We've been working on it. Some of the initiatives, as well as LMM, have done, I want to say over just the last 5 years, has been dynamic to eradicating some of these issues that we're facing. And now along comes, a federal administration change, and it's just trying to wipe everything away that each and every one of us in this room has been trying to do. So I get a little upset when we talk about that landscape, but I do know the county's mission has not changed. Our focus has not changed. We will keep collaborating across agencies, especially LMM. I always tell them I'll come and talk about them because I've seen firsthand what they do for the residents here in this county and beyond. Some of your workforce. Every day we have someone being dropped off on a bus coming into our community, and they benefit from our rich resources that we have and of great partners that we have in LMM. So we will stay prideful, strideful in our mission, and continuing to work with organizations such as yours and all of the partners up here, because we have a relationship with all of you, to focus on the single mission that we all want: better outcomes in life for our Cuyahoga County residents.
That was wonderful. I do have a follow-up, a little more specific for LMM, and this could be for anybody if they have kind of insight. What we're seeing recently is a push for mandated work requirements, training requirements to keep and maintain social services, but sometimes just not the ability or opportunity to fill those. Kind of what do you see from LMM as kind of a gap filler and some opportunities there?
Well, I think I actually meet with the Director of Job and Family Services next week to get the latest update of what's been going on in his world. So we do have dynamic partners, some of our directors that are clear focused on these challenges. So I would say that a direct connection with each of our directors that handle these kind of, they're on the day-to-day, they're on the keeping up conversations with the state, on Zoom calls, team, thanks for COVID, we have all this. So there's no reason that we need to travel beyond. But I would say that staying focused with our directors, getting a day-to-day, because by the time it gets to me and circle around to reach out to Mike Searing or someone, it's old information. This is stuff that is changing on a day-to-day basis on the federal government level. But to circle back to your question, I think in what we're facing in terms of workforce investment or work challenges, the individuals, we'll have more and more individuals to fill up these spots. And that's sad because we've done so much work prior to this. But we will have the people. Funding is going to be a challenge, but we all roll up our sleeves and get the job done.
That's a great segue into funding. I'll direct this at Marty, but Olivia, you might have some thoughts on this, and Ricardo as well. You work with nonprofit organizations all over the county. There's just a lot of hurting out there. There's folks, we just saw what happened with the county budget. There's just a lot of great organizations in kind of dire straits. What have you seen kind of out there? How are organizations coping? How are private donors responding? Just kind of your lay of the landscape from your view, kind of all different perches.
It is a fascinating time to be in this space. So many groups are hurting, and philanthropy cannot fill the gap with what the government provides. It's hundreds of millions of dollars a month. It cannot be filled by philanthropy, so we are focusing on the most vulnerable. If we start at the most vulnerable, make sure that the people who've lost their SNAP have some access to food resources, making sure that those people who need to get a green card soon to get back on SNAP are in a system to do that. And we're very humble on our side. We do provide the fuel to some of the agencies that we help, but the work that's being done on the ground to identify those most vulnerable, and then also the agencies like LMM, who during the abundant years, the extreme amounts of money that came into the community during the last administration, if that money was used to build programs and hire people, those things are now in jeopardy, and they've probably already been cut or closed. If those things were used to build housing, fix the roof, buy a van, those assets are still here. And so we've seen a lot of agencies now as we move through our funding cycles who use the money differently in the last administration. And some are coming out actually a little stronger. But having to focus on the core mission is something that I talk about with every executive director. They know what the core is and what will be sacrificed first and what has to stay. And we try to make sure we're funding the have to stay programs.
I would build on that a little bit and absolutely say, I think partnership is such a big component of that because all of our resources are being stretched so thin, and we can only get so creative, and we can only rely on philanthropy so much, as you mentioned. So, kind of echoing all of our comments about partnership and collaboration with our really great partners and making sure that we are using our funds and resources to the best of our ability and with the greatest use, it's critical. And so I think I echo everyone in saying that I think that's one of the reasons that we value our partnerships like this with LMM so much, because we all have to work together.
That's great. Ricardo, I'll give you this one. So much of LMM is about giving people a second chance. And this question will be for the group, but I'll start with you. Can you talk about kind of how the land bank has integrated second chance into its core mission statements?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to put it. I guess I don't think about it too much, but when you think about the mission of the land bank, right, it's to bring the land back into productive use across the region. And when you think about the communities that we work in historically disinvested communities, right? Post-2009 mortgage foreclosure crisis, we opened our doors in trying to mitigate the impact of that mortgage foreclosure crisis in the most challenged neighborhoods across the region, really. A lot of folks think it was just a Cleveland problem, but we saw in the first inner-ring suburbs where this was an issue as well, right? Rampant vacancy and abandonment, and trying to deal with that. And so in a lot of ways, the work that we do is giving communities back a second chance. It's like going back into those communities. We spent a decade plus kind of eliminating the blight, right? Taking down what couldn't be saved. And then along the way, saving what could be saved. And then now we're in the phase where we're 17 years into our mission. Now we're in the phase of rebuilding those communities and going back and giving those communities a chance to come back, right? Whether it's investment in housing and home ownership, whether it's investment in green space, whether it's partnering around infrastructure needs of communities. We're doing a thing later this week where we're meeting with a bunch of the first inner-ring suburb mayors and economic development directors who are having issues with code enforcement and building and housing and not being able to get talent. And so we're saying, well, how can the land bank come in and help you all solve for that problem, right? So we're always kind of constantly thinking about this like second chance. It also is helpful that we have partners like LMM and others that focus on returning citizens, focus on folks who maybe have found themselves in a really tough situation and are working towards vehicles that give them that opportunity to become really a part of our regional economy again in a real way. And so I would say it's kind of all woven into the mission of the land bank, but given where we are today and we're kicking off our strategic planning process to get us through kind of this decade, we're really looking at how do we invest more heavily in those places that need the most amount of resources. I think something we talk about a lot at the land bank is for a long time we've kind of spread the peanut butter thin, and that worked when it needed to work. But now we're seeing that there are pockets of community where you have to invest heavily to bring them back to where they used to be. And there are other stronger areas of the community that are kind of okay doing their thing. And we can support them as necessary, but we really have to think about the folks who need the resources the most. And that's where we should be spending the bulk of our time and energy.
That's great. All right, time is getting short, so this will be the last question. Thank you all for coming. I think we owe it to you to let us know about what's exciting in your world, what initiatives are going on, and then bonus points if you can roll an opportunity in LMM to assist or otherwise leverage in those opportunities. So in any order, this is your pitch to what's going on in your career and your life.
I'm in the chair.
Heaviest around.
Community West, beyond maintaining our mission. So our mission is based in the words we find in Matthew 25, so the least of our brothers and sisters out there. And that mission hasn't changed. If you've followed us at all, we put 6 big bronze statues down all over Ohio City that defines our mission. So our mission won't change. But how we're approaching it now is a little different, and what we're really investing in 2026 is collaboration. We're meeting with funders and trying to come together around some of these issues. If all of us have some excess resources for a specific issue, combining funders against those items we think can help. So we're spending a lot of time. My grant makers are in the room, Sean and Maureen. We are looking at people that do what we do across the spectrum of our geography that we work in, and trying to pool our resources, pool our good ideas. And that's a little new. Funders, we don't have like a secret club we go meet in, but we're trying to at least have a lunch and talk a little bit about where our missions overlap and where we can help each other move forward.
I'll dive in. Similarly, I mean, sticking on brand with our mission, but as I mentioned, we are going through a strategic planning process to really think about what does this, the rest of this decade look like for us. Similarly, we are working on kind of a rebrand and a relaunch of our charitable arm of the organization. Many folks may know it as Land Bank Charities. There was an initial kind of pot of seed funding with which, thankfully, over the last 8-9 years, we have spent through those resources and put them out in the street. And so now we're thinking through, well, how do we continue to have impact, through that body of work? And similarly, thinking through, how do we find ways to think a little bit outside the box, and maybe it's pursuing social impact investing or finding ways where we can generate a small return, maybe a below market return, but still a return to those investors who want to see good things happening in our community. Because the reality is that if you're only focusing on just grants and chasing kind of those types of dollars, eventually those dollars run out. And so we know that we're hoping to create some kind of vehicles where we could be doing neighborhood scale investment in collaboration with partners for housing of every type and typology and price point, in ways that it can be done in perpetuity as opposed to a one-time kind of flash in the pan.
At Downtown Cleveland Inc., we have just launched our Greater Downtown Vision that I mentioned a little bit ago, which ties in all of these plans in the community for, the lakefront, core to shore to shore. And it's really based in our 3 pillars, connectivity, activation, and safety, to really make downtown a desirable place for businesses, residents, visitors. And I think our partnership with LMM and our social services is really critical to that, because I think that there's a connection in all 3 of those pillars. We want to make downtown connected, and we want to make it active and lively, and we want to make it safe for everyone who comes down, like I mentioned, including our unsheltered residents, those who might be using the services that we're all talking about. So really our partnership, I keep going back to this in our collaboration, what does the future look like with LMM? There are going to be opportunities to enhance our workforce development programming, like SEEDS. Where does that extend when we have these plans for downtown and greater needs arise as far as programmatic needs? So we're really excited about the next couple of years, and really moving forward with all of our partners like LMM as Downtown Cleveland Inc., not Alliance.
Continuing the county's investment, strong and healthy human services needs. That's our focus. Just not for safety nets, housing stability, workforce opportunity, and equitable economic outcomes. The county, I feel, Mark, because our budget did not balance this year. I mean, we say it on paper, but we know there's outliers of things and responsibilities that we have to do. So everything that we can try to negotiate, work out, even though we're taking back steps to what we've done for 8 years or more now with the federal government to comply with all the new rules and regulations that they're putting forth to us, but never losing sight of the mission that the county is focused on or has been focused on, because we know it's all about people. People at the end of the day is the county government's product. And I always talk about that several times in meetings. what is the product? It's our people, and how do we get the people what they need? And so this is, when you talk about what's new with the county, right now we're in survival mode. I would say that. We have a lot of impacted things that are going to impact the continuum of our resources right now. And what I learned through this budget process, out of being one of the long-standing and initial county council representatives, we had never had a real tough budget. And now we're faced, this year, this cycle, we were really faced with a tough budget. And what I learned, it was very shocking, that because we all had to share in the cuts, there were so many selfish people that didn't want to lose their 50,000 or their 100,000. It was all about them. And here we are trying to stretch and leverage everything for the most vulnerable citizen. So my eyes have opened a lot. We can't keep increasing the Health and Human Services levy. We just can't. I mean, I'm a person that looks at everything, the global impact. And if we keep raising our taxes, many of us in this room and some of our family members are struggling to pay their property taxes now. So we have to look, your elected leaders and your community partners of organizations have to really look at balancing and not to overextend. Yes, we do have some residents that can afford a little more than others, but we have to keep a balance. So today, I really don't know. I know it's a day by day. Hopefully the end of this year and this budget cycle will really afford us an opportunity to better look. I think we're pretty much balanced for 2026, but 2027, there's some gapes or gaps. And so I'm always fighting for those that are at the bottom and they're trying to reach out a hand, and we're the ones lifting them up. You know, and I say that because we're the ones that have a day-to-day paycheck coming in. Those, you know, now we're not rich by any means, but we're one that are getting 2 paychecks a month. So as long as we stay vigilant, I wish I had better news. This was an eye-opener for me on the council with this budget, but everything that we did, it hurt in some areas, but we really tried to, there was really no room for negotiation to put money back here, because where were we going to get it from? So tight budget. City of Cleveland is about to go through their budget process in the month of February. So let's pray, let's look, because I know City of Cleveland is one of our only partners that help us with this population. So we're going to voice your opinion, stop in at the meetings, and try to keep in their minds and their focus what's most important, which is our vulnerable citizens.
That's great. Thank you. Well, yeah, please. Well, Marty, Ricardo, Olivia, Councilwoman, thank you so much for coming. And on behalf of the board of directors of LMM, we want to thank everybody for making their way out today, both in person and via Zoom, to honor our honorees here today, as well as just celebrate LMM's founding. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say it, because you always have to say it. We thank you to the staff of LMM who are out there on the front lines doing it every day. Give them a big round of applause.
Thank you. That was incredible. Thank you very, very much. If I could ask you guys to hang around right after for a couple of pictures. Will is going to take a couple pictures of you. So, but thank you all. As we bring today's program to a close, please be sure to stay engaged with us and up to date with all that's going on. And you see there's plenty going on over the next year. Subscribe to our new e-newsletter at lutheranmetro.org. Join our mailing list and follow us on social media at LMM Cleveland. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This concludes our Founders Day program. Please enjoy more refreshments. They kept it all warm for you, and have a great day.